So in today's interview, I interviewed an old stylist who is near and dear to my heart, who used to work with me, and she made the courageous decision to move to another state and completely rebuild her clientele, which is something that I know that all hairstylists would love to do, like especially New York or LA. And she actually took the steps to do that. So I interviewed her and I asked her just a few questions that I thought would be beneficial to anyone thinking about making this type of move. And I hope you enjoyed today's interview. It's a good one, definitely a good one. Here you go. I'm so excited to see you. I just wanted to give everyone like a little history about us. So
Okay.
Melanie and I used to work together. How many years did we work together? Probably like 4 years.
2, 3.
Two,
Well,
three.
so I'm going on my 4th year out of school.
Okay. And then you started with me right out of school. So maybe 3 years? How long have you
Wait, maybe
moved?
it is 5. Maybe it's going on 5. So yeah, it's like 3 to 4. So I moved here a year ago. It'll be 2 years in September,
Awesome.
which is crazy. Yeah.
That is
So
crazy. That's
I
so
can't believe
crazy.
it.
You love it there
It
though?
happened so fast. Yeah, I like how friendly everyone is here and the culture is a little different. So that was kind of hard for me to get used to, but everything's tight knit and small. It's
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start with hold on, pull up your questions. Okay, so you did something super courageous and you completely moved to a different state and rebuilt your entire clientele, which I feel like
yeah.
is such a brave move.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
crazy.
like so many stylists are scared to do that, but like would love to do so if they had the opportunity.
Yeah. So it was crazy. Like there's a lot of things I would have done differently now that I know like this process.
Right.
Like for example, so like Kansas City split up into 2 states. I know
Okay.
like sometimes it's like not a lot of states or like like cities, big cities like that do that. Like I know St. Louis kind of is split in 2. For example, Kansas City is Missouri, Kansas. So for me, it was like I lived in Kansas, but I was so close to Kansas City. What state I wanted to work in? Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
So
Yeah,
I
'cause
had to wait to
your
find like a
licensing.
salon to like switch my license over. But I feel like it'll be a little easier if you like if people wanted to get up and leave, like for example, go to LA, New York, or whatever the case may be, it'd be like it might be a little easier for them to do that because it's like bigger. It's a bigger like section of like of a state. You know what I mean? Like New York is New York City. Like New York State, New York City. It's like one thing instead of like
Right.
split in 2.
Two
Does that make
states.
sense?
Totally makes sense.
So it took
Go ahead. So it took,
so it took me a while to find like a salon that I felt comfortable applying to that fit like my personal like what I wanted to do, like what services they had, for example. Like you got to find like the brand of the salon you wanted to work for and like how it would work with for you.
now, like, what were the
If
steps
that
that you
makes any
took?
sense.
What were the steps that you took to actually like find a salon that like was like your vibe, if that makes sense?
So what I first started doing was because I was super familiar with Kevin Murphy. I kind of looked at salons that like carried Kevin Murphy because I was super familiar with like the product, the color. Um, and then I like went to their websites. And then I also like Kansas City is a huge Yelp community. So I
Mhm.
went on Yelp and looked up like reviews. And I also looked up like who worked at certain like what their employees looked like because I kind of wanted to like fit in, I guess. Like I wanted to kind of like flow with the vibe of this place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
So then I like got my resume done and then started applying and no one was like calling me back and I was like, okay. So then I started applying at other like salons that didn't carry Kevin Murphy. So that was my first step was like what was going to be my advantage when applying to these salons, which was Kevin Murphy products.
That makes
Does that make
sense.
sense?
Totally makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay, so if someone was like, say someone was making a plan to move within the next couple of months, like what advice would you give them to like have them start setting up like a successful transition? Like what were some of the things that you did before moving to make sure that you were successful?
Okay, so in life, I would say save your money. Save a lot of money because your first like you don't know, like even if you did get hired right away, your first couple paychecks aren't going to be good.
Hmm.
I got lucky and I know like my the salon I work at was is currently super busy, so my it took me like I would say 4 months. So that would be like 6 paychecks for it to be like a good one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that
Like
makes
if
sense.
depending on like if they pay biweekly or like weekly.
Yeah.
Um, so I would save your money so you can afford like to live, like your rent, your food and all that. That's really, really important. I would also say like your social media is huge because if you start like what I started to do was I would explore Kansas City and go to these certain areas and like post pictures of like a cute restaurant and then tag the location.
Hmm.
So like people, for example, if they were in like my salon's located in Overland Park, Kansas, which is like south of the city. If I was in Overland Park, I would go on my professional page, go to like a cute spot, like somewhere out to eat, take a picture of like my food and like add my location. And a lot of people would see my post and my name and like was able to go to my name
That makes
through the
sense.
post.
That totally makes
So that's
sense.
something, yeah.
Another
Um,
like question I have for you too. So like when you left here, you were like on your own, you were an independent stylist. Like how was it transitioning back to commission for you? Do you like it?
oh my
Like,
gosh. So I feel like I did a good job at picking a spot that was a little bit more like let you be more a little bit more independent as like your own stylist. Does that make sense?
hmm.
So like I would say it was a struggle for me taking off work since I don't have a lot of family here. I like to go back and forth to like Chicago and like go on vacation. You know what I'm saying? So I have to take off work. So that for me was like having to kind of get back in the swing of like, oh, I have to consider like if I take off work, it's not only my money that I have to worry about. It's like my bosses and like
Hmm.
business. You know what I'm saying? So that was something I had to kind of get used to. But other than that, like I felt like it was a really good transition because I was able to start somewhere without like the buying products. Like I didn't have to like worry about buying color product. I didn't have to worry about like writing things off, for example, and just like dumping my money into something and not getting anything back. Like whereas I just showed up to work, did my job, cleaned my space, did what I needed to do, like side work, and then just like went home.
So like the stresses of like having like the independent stylist like stresses were gone.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
that's kind of nice. Yeah. And
So
then
that was kind of a good transition for me.
what were some things that you did to like start
I'm sorry, I
networking?
didn't.
Oh, there we go. What were some things you like started to do to like network and to like build your clientele that way? Because obviously you have to do quite a bit of networking if you're going to like move states.
So I would say, like, if I had a client in my chair, I would be extremely over the top. Like, I wouldn't say like I would go above and beyond because like consistency had to be there the next time they were there.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, oh, like, what do you and your girlfriends do? It's almost like like if they compliment you, I almost say like, hey, if your friends or like coworkers like your hair, bring them to me. I feel like that's a good networking way. I would like write my name down on like cards. I honestly got so lucky that I didn't really have to do too much networking because I felt like they all like flocked. Like if you had a nurse client and then like you did their hair and for example, they work on a floor. All their nurse friends came to see me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I got like really lucky. I don't know if it's because of all the experience I had.
Your
It just kind
skill
of was
level
so
was
natural.
there.
I wasn't thinking about it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Um,
And your skill
but
level
another
was
thing I
there.
noticed that a lot of people, yeah, yeah. So I felt like I got super lucky. I wouldn't say lucky. I just know like my skill sets were there, that I knew like the ripple effect was going to happen.
What were you going to say before? You said you.
A lot of people left reviews on Yelp about me, and that was like huge for me. I'm not necessarily on our like website, but a lot of people use Yelp, and like that's huge. So I have a lot of reviews on Yelp, which helps a lot with
So
bringing
you're
business in.
asking for reviews, or necessarily like just them leaving reviews on their own?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Uh,
that helped a lot.
What do you think, what were some of the mistakes that you made? Because you said in the beginning of our conversation that you would do things a little bit differently. Like, what were some things that maybe you would do differently if you had to redo the whole process all over?
If I had to redo the process all over, I would have so I waited too long to apply for my license for the state of Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily like, so for example, I got hired on the Kansas side of Kansas City. And then so like when I got hired in October, and then I applied the day after I got like the job. I applied whatever the system was. Like I had to like contact my high school, which was insane. And I had to contact like Paul Mitchell. And then I had to write a letter. So it was like a longer like sitting down like business like office work for that. And then it took 4 months for them to switch it over. So I got hired, but I had to wait 4 months to even start my position.
That's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like if I was on it way faster about like maybe apply, like it was like a little tricky. Just know like if you got to like if you live in state of Kansas, for example, I should have just stayed in Kansas and applied in just Kansas instead of like looking at salons in Missouri. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so split in half. I
Yeah.
think I should have just done that, because it takes a long time to get your license switched over, or just like an additional license. I would do that over for sure.
And then what do you think some of the habits that you created, like positive habits you created in order to that were beneficial to you to like start rebuilding? Like, what were some of the things that you did behind the chair besides the Yelp reviews?
I feel like customer service for sure. Like I notice things that I do that a lot of people don't do.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that I took away that like was really super helpful, and that helped me like build, was like from like working with you. Like we were super strict on like customer service. Like
Yeah.
this is what we're known for. And like a lot of it goes like such a long way, like making their coffee for them, and like bring like hanging up their coat. It's like simple things that like you don't realize that like people pay attention to and enjoy. Like
Mhm.
for example, I am like one of the only ones, maybe like somebody else, like, I don't really like really pay attention, but it was just like I noticed I do it a lot, is like I wrap everyone's hair up in a towel before we head back to the chair, so it doesn't like drip down their cape. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people, that's like nice, like it doesn't seep through, like their clothes don't get wet. That's just an example of something that I notice that I've stuck to that really has helped.
I think definitely it's like the little things like add up to like a big picture, like taking their coat for them, grabbing their coffee, like it's the little details that set you apart. So
And I know another thing that I get a lot of like, not praise, I wouldn't say, like a lot of things that people that I work with like about what I do, is I'm very honest with my clients. Like if I can't do it, or if it's not like gonna happen for them, hair wise, like color wise, it doesn't matter. Like I'm super upfront, and I'm like, this isn't gonna work for you, unfortunately, or I won't like beat around the bush. Like I won't, just because they want something doesn't mean it's gonna be right for them.
right. And I
And I
think
think that is very helpful.
that builds trust.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Totally builds
Because then they'll tell
trust.
their friends like, oh, like I suggested one thing, but she was like professional and gave me her professional opinion about it. And it makes you like, honestly, like educational. Like it makes you come off that you know exactly like what you're doing. You know what
And
I mean?
like being a people pleaser in this industry just isn't necessarily what people want. People want the professional opinion. That's why they come to us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
They're
cool.
they're coming to see you to like see what you're going to do for them, essentially.
Right. So like all in all, like what is your overall feeling about like this whole process and this whole experience? Like, do you love working in your new state? Like, are you glad you did it? Like, what's
Yeah,
your like overall?
I feel like my goals have kind of reset in my mind. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was in Illinois, I knew like kind of what I was like. My goal was to do something, or I had like an idea of like long-term goals. Here, I'm kind of like it's like a fresh plate. I can literally kind of do anything, and like what I mean by that is it's very small businesses here are like popping up all over the place. It's like it's super local. Everyone is like involved, like it's building. It kind of gives you like a new perspective of like your end goals. So I do like it. I would say I'm really happy where I'm at, and I got really lucky. I don't know if it's luck or like I just did all the research and I didn't realize
I
I
think you
was like
just did
working so
what
hard
you,
to kind of,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
but yeah, I really like it. I like everyone I work with too. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. It was so good to see your face. Like I have not seen your face in so long. It was like so good to like
I
sit and talk to you.
I have to come in and say hi to everybody
You
when I'm home
do.
next. I don't even know when that's gonna be, but
You should
yeah,
just pop in.
yeah, it'll be nice.
All right,
So
cool. All
it
right.
was
Well,
nice to see you.
it was
Thanks
nice
for
to meet you.
yeah.
All right, cool.
Do you have
Thanks,
any
Mel.
yeah, do you have any other questions for me or
No,
anything?
I think I asked all the questions. Is there anything that you want to add that I didn't, like we didn't touch upon?
Um, Not really. I feel like something I like did with my resume this time around that I didn't do before that I noticed was I added all the classes that I've taken to my
Yeah,
resume, which I noticed a lot of people did that here on their website under their like profile, like their employee profile is that like they listed a ton of like education that they used. So I kind of took that into account with my resume.
awesome. That's
But
actually
that's
a
the
really
only
good
thing.
tip. I like that.
Yeah, because you don't think about like it's kind of like for me it was like no other option to not get hired. You know what I mean? Like I went there selling myself and that's like an insurance like oh like this is proof why you should hire me.
Yeah,
Like I did this and this, you know. I don't know.
I like
It's just
that.
something I noticed. But
Love that
cool.
tip. All right, cool. Well, I'm sure I'm going to be contacting you soon for like probably to do something like this again, but maybe we'll
Yeah,
do
that'll be
like
fun.
a Instagram like live or something. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
cool.
Cool.
All right, bye, Mel.
Bye.